Oh, you're welcome back. Now to the party which seeks to upset the, 23-year dynamics, or 24 years now, the dynamics of Nigerian politics. I'm talking about the Labour Party. How far with their mission, the manifesto, the campaign trail so far? So let's get into the realm of the Labour Party this evening. We're joined on the program by Dr. Shina Fagbero-Byron, who's Director of Operations, Obi-Datti campaign, joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Fagbero-Byron, on the program tonight.
Me, Kayode, thank you.
Right. Your campaigns continued in Kogi State yesterday. Yeah, but aside the speech, the usual manifesto of your candidate, what is turning out maybe prominently in discussions is just how much party supporters attended that event. Apparently, that's now a show of just how much support a party has on ground, and in this case, in Kogi State. And I wonder for you, how was the turnout? Was it disappointing, what you met on ground compared to what your expectations were?
Well, I would say the turnout was brilliant. Brilliant in the sense that Kogi State is an APC state. We had, a number of concerns before we got to the state. Would we have as many people? But, one thing that members of the public have come to accept and realize is that the Obi-Datti movement, as I would put it, is, although is predicated on the Labour Party, which is our party, also has structures that are complementary to the Labour Party. We have, for example, support groups which are don't particularly belong to any political party, but are Nigerians committed to support Peter Obi and Datti Yusuf. We also have a number of indigenous groups that are committed to supporting our candidate and his vice. And at the Kogi rally, we had a huge complement of all. We had the party. And as you know, Labour Party is not exactly a small party. It's not a young party. Labour Party has won elections in this country severally. Labour Party has won governorship elections in Ondo, has won governorship elections in Edo State. And Labour Party is quite formidable, quite frankly. And so, apart from its own membership, it had its own complementary presence. Now, we also had support groups, and they came in the thousands. We had a capacity stadium. We didn't use all the stadium, but essentially the 3/4 of the stadium that we used, was quite full, including the spillouts outside, because a number of people who didn't come in. But the most important thing is that we enjoyed the love of the people. We enjoyed the spontaneity of the crowd. The messages went far and wide. Obviously, our presidential candidate himself has a power of attraction, power of speech, power of communication, demonstrated capacity, and people trust them. So for a large stadium, yes, we did have presence. Initially, people were coming in trickles, but by the time Peter Obi started speaking, there was quite a huge, momentous crowd.
For those who are then disputing, saying maybe it was, 2,000 people in attendance, less than 5,000, what figure, because I imagine you've done your review of what exactly happened, what figure would you put the attendance eventually?
Absolutely. The crowd in that stadium was close to 6, 7, 8,000. And the reason was this. When we got to Kogi State, we were told that we could not use the venue. And the venue was not approved until about 7 o'clock the night before. Now, a number of people who had come, were misled into believing that our rally would not hold in that venue. So quite frankly, apart from the people you have here, there were a number of people situated elsewhere thinking that we were holding the rally in other places. We got there at 8 o'clock trying to set up. We did not get an approval till 7 p.m. And despite that, and despite all the Twitter messages that went, what you see on screen is about 1/10 of the places people sat. So what you want to do is to times 10. And then we also had an overflow, which is not showing, which was on the pitch itself. So, like they say, statistics are like bikinis. They show some stuff, but what they don't show is also most important. But I can tell you that we had close to a 10,000 population. And those who bothered to view outside, because a number of people didn't come in. And then if you wanted to factor in other grounds that people thought we were going to be, some say it was deliberate, but I can assure you the governor assured us that he didn't know that we were being delayed. It was an issue between the officials at the Sports Council and, of course, overzealous people who thought because it was an APC state, the Labour Party should be frustrated. But in spite of that, we were present, we were vocal, and the states appreciated that they had a visitor.
Right. I mean, quite an interesting analogy you used.
And we were most welcome anyway.
Right. I know that there was this back and forth also with Edo State, which is a PDP state now, Kogi State, an APC state, and there were questions about when you applied for the use of venue and all of that. In this case, for Kogi State, is it a question of not filing for use of that place on time? When exactly did you file, just so that the details and the issues are laid bare?
No, we filed for this. It's a good thing you're bringing it up, because apparently, because it shows that you even abreast of the delays we were given. We filed for the use about a week and a half, right? The issue was that we were required to come in. We did. We have letters to show that we had filed for the use of the venue. Now, on the morning of the venue, when we came in to pay for the venue, there was controversy. We were told that we should have passed the letter through the chairman of the Sports Council instead of the director of sports. For me, as an administrator myself, I can see that there were administrative lapses on the parts within Kogi State. Fortunately for us, by 6:30, we got across to the governor, who was totally unaware of this and gave a directive that we should pay. And it was at 7 o'clock that we paid. But between that time, between the morning when we got in and 7 o'clock when we paid, all sorts of Twitters had got around that Labour Party had been debarred from using the venue. So that in itself discouraged a whole lot of people from coming. It was only at 7 o'clock in the evening that we sort of, sorry, I'm getting my timing wrong. 7 o'clock in the evening before that we started sending notices around that people should discountenance, the information that we would not be having our rally there. But we did have, those issues. We overcame them. The governor was quite apologetic for the disruption.
Okay. Now that we've talked
issues like this in states, we've had issues like this in that apparently may not be too friendly.
Okay, so let's talk about Okay, let's talk about the content itself. I know all of these issues are very important, really, but to the content itself, your candidate reiterated his mantra, as usual, to move Nigeria from consumption to production. And I think that would have resonated well with the people of a state that is home to the Ajaokuta steel plant. Huge investment, huge production capacity,
Yes.
but for 4 decades it has remained largely moribund. So tell Nigerians, because successive governments have tried to do different things with it, tinker with it, what particularly will you do differently with Ajaokuta?
First of all, we'll increase the accountability and transparency around Ajaokuta. The primary thing is that there's so much opaqueness around Ajaokuta. And when you don't have the details, you don't have the facts, things like this happen. Some of the contractual issues around Ajaokuta need to be interrogated. One of the things that Nigerians need to understand, when our principle says that moving from consumption to production, our focus is on the factors of production. By increasing and enhancing the factors of production, you can ensure that a country becomes more productive. And what are the factors of production? The people. Our people are appropriately educated to be employers of laborers and creative within the economy. A place like Ajaokuta is like an entire city. What is the kind of education, what are the kind of engagement, what are the kind of training, including skills, technical knowledge that people have that will complement a place like Ajaokuta? That is one. Second thing is the offtake from Ajaokuta. What are the markets like?
Right.
There are issues that have come under Ajaokuta over the past 40 years. But the bottom line has to do with corruption, which our principal is determined to deal with. A lot of it has to do with transparency. Right. A lot of it has to do with trust, public trust.
Well,
a lot of things have to do with the factors of production and the components of what makes a facility like Ajaokuta work. A lot of things have to do with the contracts.
Right, exactly. And let's come to that point.
Deal with
the contract, the transparency, and all of that. Because Ajaokuta, I think, will hit a very important, very deep point for a lot of Nigerians. I wonder if you are aware that there's currently a bidding process for Ajaokuta by, I think 11 firms for concession. The federal government plans to pay hundreds of millions of dollars just to settle the legal issues around that, instead of billions of dollars, which was meant to be paid. So if that is at that stage now, stage of bidding for concession, really, would your candidate then come, because he said he will speak to people who know what to do about it, will he then come and reverse that process and maybe will now start all over again, or he will go with the process that this current government is following through with?
Well, my principle will go with any process that is transparent.
Right.
As long as it is transparent. When you hear Peter Obi talking, he doesn't bellyache about things that people have done. Forward-looking candidates and a forward-looking party like Labour will focus on, if things have been done transparently, we'll take it off from there. So I hope this government is doing whatever they do transparently. But if it's not done transparently, and if there are hiccups, and if there are opportunities for others to complain and contest the process, then of course we will err on the side of the people. We'll err on the side of transparency. I will ensure that knowledgeable people. You see, the problem in Nigeria most times is that you get round pegs in square holes and vice versa. But the truth be told is that there are a lot of transactions going on. A lot of part of government is transactional, which is unfortunate. The objective should be service delivery. And there should be benchmarks in terms of what service providers who bid for to take charge or manage facilities, production facilities like Ajaokuta, like refineries. There are benchmarks.
Particularly because this is your forte.
Are made
Dr. Fagbero Byron, if you can hear me, I know this is your forte and we can go on and on all night with these issues, but I'd like to raise this very important point with you, because this is also a major point that has been going around. Yes. Your party reported that Mr. Peter Obi received an emphatic endorsement from the Ibadan Traditional Council. But incidentally, in fact, there was a video that was put out and retweeted largely. But The palace actually came out with a statement off the back of the video that has been circulated. And it said, well, none of that happened. In fact, I'm going to take a quote from the statement saying that in the offensive video being widely circulated by Obi's handlers, High Chief Oyelo Wale was seen praying for the success of the party and that it was not an endorsement. So the question then is, why term that prayer, which a lot of people listen to, as an endorsement? By the way, we're anchoring in a minute, so I hope you can do that in a minute.
Yes, the chief prayed for the success of our candidate, and his prayer was unambiguous. And what will the success of our candidate be, by the way, if not to win the election? The chief also prayed for a Nigeria that was consistent with what Peter Obi presented as his manifesto and his offer. And what he said was that what Peter Obi had been able to articulate in terms of a better Nigeria was in consonance with what the chiefs articulated. So I don't think, mischief makers can split hairs and say it's not an endorsement but a prayer but not an endorsement. If you pray for me and you don't endorse me, I will say amen.
No, the palace is actually the one putting out the statement saying that it is not an endorsement. And he said it for the umpteenth time. Let it be emphasized that Olubado and his cabinet do not and cannot endorse any political party or candidate. So are you taking this as an endorsement, even though the Olubado says it was just a prayer? I hope you know that this has a tendency of even causing disaffection because the traditional institutions are seen to most times be objective and they don't lean to any party whatsoever.
That is true. That is true. Traditional rulers will not endorse. They have never used the word endorse. It is political, the aftermath, the news that comes with the endorsement. They use the words endorsement. Traditional rulers are usually neutral. So yes, I do not say they use the word endorse. They did pray for him, and they prayed for his success.
Well, we have to go now. I said we had 1 minute, but we've overshot that. Dr. Fagbemi, I apologize. We have to anchor at this point. But just to note that it was a campaign DG that actually put out that video and said it's an emphatic endorsement. But clearly, the conversation continues. But we'd like to thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you. Dr. Shina Fagbemi is the Director of Operations Obi-Datti campaign. Thank you for your time tonight.